Welcome to another episode of FML, and today we are working on the Odyssey, the sweet minivan, and we are going to change the timing belt and the water pump and all related stuff to do with that. So let's get to work. So I ordered a Daco timing belt kit. So we got our belt, water pump, idler pulleys, and a tensioner. One of the things that I noticed as it's gotten cold out is that you hear a ticking noise down there. You'll put your ear up over here on the passenger side front, obviously, and you'll be able to hear the ticking noise coming from down there, and it's basically that hydraulic tensioner hitting the metal stopper on it. So it's getting weak and it needs to be changed before it jumps timing and causes way more problems than need be. I've done this on a Honda Odyssey before, so it's not that difficult. A little time consuming, but basically involves removing like 10 millimeter bolts and the motor mount. So we're going to get a jack underneath here to help hold it up, and then we'll go underneath and get everything that needs to happen down there, and then I'm going to work on this timing or the power steering pump because it's been whining. And yeah. So the first thing you're going to want to do, jack up the vehicle, get her wheel off, because majority of the stuff that you're going to be doing is going to be from underneath the vehicle. This will give you access to everything, specifically the bolt for the crank pulley. That one is going to be tricky. They make a special socket, and I tried it on my last job, and what ended up working was putting a ratchet on it with a regular socket and cranking the motor over with the ratchet hanging on the axle shaft there, and it just broke it loose. So that's what we are going to do on this one. Disconnect the coil packs, and then you position your ratchet here so that it hits your drive shaft axle, and then when you crank the motor, just tap it and it should hit the axle and break your bolt loose. You don't have to spend $50 on a special socket. That's not going to work. So now that we got that bolt out, we're going to get our serpentine belt off, and that's going to involve crawling underneath to get to the tensioner. So now that we got the serpentine belt off, which involves taking a 19 millimeter socket and putting it on the tensioner itself, I got a new one over here to show you. So you're going to put it on a piece right here. This piece right here. One of these two. And it'll compress that little shock on there, and you'll be able to get the belt off. So now we got to work on getting our tensioner setup off, which involves 2 bolts, and then we will start taking off bolts for the timing cover, and we're going to make marks on our timing belt. So here we go. Covers off. There's quite a few bolts that are going on, and this is what our timing setup looks like. But now we need to focus on getting our motor mount out of the way so we can get to our timing belt. And it kind of looks like we have an oil leak going on somewhere. Let's see what we got going on once we get our belt and stuff out of the way. Here we go. I'm looking at this belt and I feel like it's been changed before. This belt on here looks pretty new, and the tensioner doesn't look like it's very old either, and this right here is saying that it was done in 2015, so we're almost carried 6 years but I'm at 220,000 miles. This thing's at 228,000 miles on it, and that belt over there does not look like a 100,000 mile belt. It just doesn't. I just wonder if somebody changed it in the last, let's say, 30,000 miles, and they didn't put any stickering or labeling on here. Pretty sure Carfax didn't say anything about the timing belt. So I'm kind of questioning, should I change the timing belt? The stuff that I've done so far is easy. When you take this timing belt off, the cams will shift. There's like a spring tension inside here because it's 24 valves, but it's got a single cam set up on here, so there's like tension on there, and you got to go through and count teeth on the timing belt and all this and all that. And I don't know if I'm going to change this belt because I don't think it's bad. Maybe I just change the tensioner. That's an idea. I think I'm just going to change the tensioner. All right, we are back the next day. Ultimately, what I did was buy a new tensioner because this one looks like to have broke a seal inside there and is leaking. So I know I heard the ticking noise in the mornings, so I replaced the tensioner. The belt itself looked fine. I'm not messing with it. I mean, realistically, this van's got 230,000 miles on it. Stuff is just going to start wearing out on this motor, and it's going to have to get pulled at some point. So I'm not even going to mess with it. Plus, I have an idea for a motor swap for this thing anyway, so it don't even matter. So I'm not changing the belt. So there you have it. We're gonna put everything back together. Nothing crazy. If you are doing a timing belt on this particular motor, then basically what you do is there's timing marks on each cam and a timing mark on the crank. So what you're gonna do is, before you remove the belt, you're going to get the motor so that the timing marks all line up to where they're supposed to be, and you're going to make marks on the old timing belt because you're going to count the teeth and make new marks on the new timing belt. Because the way this is going to be is you also need a second set of hands to do the timing belt on this, because someone's got to hold the cam where it's got to be. You're going to wrap the timing belt on there, zip tie it, do the other side, match up your marks, zip tie it, put your tensioner on, pull the spring. I've done it before, and the part that's a pain in the butt is having a second person and getting those marks lined up. In the service manual, it says something about taking these rods out and putting them in the cam, and I never saw where that's supposed to happen, and I never really dug deeper in it. I just counted teeth and moved on with my life. Don't be worried when you take the belt off and it goes clink, because that cam won't stay on its timing mark. It's springs, the valve springs move it so it never stays there. So there you have it. I'm going to finish putting this thing back together. There's not going to be a time lapse of it, and get it off the jack stands, and then I'm going to do a review on my newest purchase. So if you made it to the end of this video, you know the next one that's going to be coming up. So thanks guys for watching. Remember, keep making financial mistakes.